Hey, how you doing? Good, good. Operations management. All right. What everybody doing tonight? Good? Everybody look tired today, huh? Long day today? A little bit? Well, it's almost over, okay? So, not too bad. All right. Any questions, about anything? No, I know it's only week two, so should be good to go. But, might have some questions. All right, any thought about groups that you want to do the groups yourself, or do you want me to put them together? You guys thought about that? I know not the whole class is here, but anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We decided to group the same dates.
Okay, all right. So if you can, send me an email.
Okay.
How many people you have in your group?
3, including myself.
Okay, perfect. All right, so, after that, yes, send me an email, and if anybody else has decided whatever's left over, I'm gonna put together. Not yet? All right, so I need to the end of the week, and then come Sunday or Monday morning next week, if I don't see anything, if I don't see an email with the teams, then I'll make the teams up myself, okay? But I got you guys know the group, right? Okay, cool. All right, so this week gonna talk about product design, okay? This is the book if anybody needs it, or, well, I have a copy book. Be sure to get one from me probably if you need, we probably won't need one. We're gonna talk about product design, right? So why do you think it's important that although operations, is in charge of pretty much all the activities as far as making the product? Come on, operations management? No?
It's good to see you, though.
Likewise, good to see you too. Why do you think it's important that, operations is involved in the whole process, not just the manufacturing of the product, all right? It's critical that operation understands what's going on elsewhere, but why? Why is that important?
I think for the smooth function.
Okay, definitely, for the smooth functioning of what? Of operations, or smooth function of the company, or what?
Of the organization.
Regulation?
It sets the kind of a framework and a layout
Okay,
of how to get things done.
gotta get things, okay, cool, all right, anybody else? No? All right, so, when you design you're in charge of operations, it's just not, critical that you create the product, but it's important that you understand the life cycle of the product, right? Where does the product go after I'm done with it, or am I working concurrently with someone or the other sections in order to create this particular product, right? There's no point in creating a product or manufacturing a product if it's gonna be, marketed poorly, all right? We built this great thing, but how you guys, displaying it or presenting it to the consumer, right? Because that makes a huge difference. A lot of people buy certain things because of the packaging, right?
Yeah.
It looks pretty, okay? And so that's an important aspect for operations because they want to know that the product that they're putting out is actually wanted by the customer, right? That is desirable to buy. No matter which way, there's a push or pull system, right? But no matter which way the product gets to market, once it gets there, is it selling, right? And if it's not selling, why is it not selling, right? Or if it is selling, why is it selling? To, consumer desires, right? There are some products that we think about them. They just say, hey, this is what it is. It says, can I fill that gap, right? So there's a push and pull system, right? And still, it's critical to know and understand the whole cycle of where the product goes, how it's being packaged, what is being sold for, right? What are the things that some of the consumers are looking for as far as other supplemental accessories or just functionality wise? What things are the consumer curious about and what are they really interested in when it comes to the product, right? And what is the competition doing, right? If there's a very competitive market, then I want to know. Things have changed dramatically where nowadays there's not as many competitors as there used to be in most industries, right? You have three or four major players, and then after that, there's a little bit of, mom and pop here and there, but it's not as big. Back in the day, I'll say 30, 40 years ago, there were a lot of competitors, right? A lot of people doing the same thing. You had a variety or options as a consumer to go to all these places, and they were all fighting for your business. And so because they're all fighting for the business, they took great care in really catering to the customer and understanding like, look, what is it you want? Because whatever it is you want, I will fix it that way, right? I will make it that way, right? Because I want your business. I don't want you to give it to somebody else because if you continue to give your business elsewhere, I'm gonna go out of business, right? And so that is the understanding about operations and wanting to know like what is it that the consumer wants because we can go ahead and build that into the process, right? And make the product or service or good exactly what the consumer is looking for, right? So, of course, all right, in the past it said over the wall, okay? And when we talk about over the wall, does anybody know what that term means? Over the wall production, operation management? Anybody have an idea? A good guess? What over the wall means? No? Okay. So when it comes to manufacturing well, not even manufacturing, just operations management in general. What they used to do is they build the product and they basically toss it over to the next department. Okay, that's over the wall. Okay, because there's a wall, and I know the product goes over. I don't see what happens. I have no idea. I have no input. I have no say so. Nothing. It just goes on to the next step, which kind of what we call somewhat sequential kind of manufacturing, right? And we'll get into that, okay? But when you look at operations, right? Operations wants to make sure they have the right type and amount as far as capacity, right? How much can we produce, right? And do we have the resources necessary to meet that capacity? Be it human resource, natural resources, raw material, okay? Delivering a quality product or service, right? Again, goes back to the fact that operations management, they care about the product, right? They just don't care about making it. They care that it's gonna go out and it's a quality product that they tested and it's gonna hold up and it's gonna be good use and service to whoever it is, okay? And have the right inventory at right time, okay? That's a critical piece of the market, right? Because the market fluctuates, okay? So we know that, it's March right now, okay? What is it that the organization or companies, what are they thinking about right now? What do you think they're thinking about for later on down the line? Like this year? What are the things that if I make a certain thing, right? If I make anything really, right? What is the biggest season really that I'm looking forward to?
Some,
Summer, okay, yeah, it depends on what I'm doing, but summer for sure, right? But what else? Think about from a consumer standpoint. No? When religions work with gifts and that kind of thing, but I know for the most, how long do you think, come on in, how long do you think it takes your companies to get ready for that? Mhm. How long?
year or 2 year.
Yeah, it takes a little time, right?
If it is Christmas, then Christmas period, maybe it's like 3 years.
Yeah, it depends,
It
right?
depends.
Yeah, it depends on what the product is, how long I can hold it for, right? And what the demand is forecasted to be, right? Usually, most companies, right after Christmas is done, even it, so they'll start, really thinking about Christmas now. And then come October, November, they're done with Christmas for this year. They moved on to Christmas for next year already. Okay? And so the thought is that we need to figure out what is the next big thing coming, right? And so that we can start prepping our resources and understanding what it is that people want, okay? And so as you look at the demand, right, the demand signal, you can start to put together your plan as to, okay, everybody's into Teslas, okay? And so Tesla probably said, okay, you know what? They'll be buying Teslas for Christmas, right, as a gift. Or anybody seen the new Cybertruck?
Yeah.
Okay? It's ugly, but it is what it is, okay?
Did you see that they're gonna launch the new Roadster?
Yes, yeah, I saw that too. They're gonna launch the new Roadster, right? And those are all demand signals that they're catering to. Come on in, Mike, what's going on? That they're catering to, okay? And so companies have to take a real hard look and say, you know what do we think is gonna be the hot seller, right? Which one of our products do we think is going to really be in demand? And then products, of course, that are always in demand, right? You can't really go wrong with laptops, video game systems, clothing, right? It just depends on what type of clothing this year is popular, right? Makeup, certain things are, not going to change. Durable goods, refrigerators, stuff like that. Usually, it's just basically innovating on those products, but those products have a certain pattern on how they sell, when they sell, and that kind of thing, okay? But, having the right inventory at the right time is critical, because if you don't have the right inventory at the right time, what happens? You what?
You lose sale.
You lose sales. You lose sales, basically.
Also underperforming the market.
Exactly. You underperform the market, you lose sales, and when you do those two things, guess what? Your competitor, right, is winning, okay? Because it has to go somewhere, right? It has to go somewhere. It's just not gonna sit there. Nobody's gonna just turn around and say, well, I don't want that anymore. No, they're gonna find someplace else to buy, your competitor. And so you don't want that, right? You want to maintain market share, because every year that goes by that you don't maintain or increase your market share, it's just another year that you're really losing money. And eventually, you're gonna start to see that, okay, my market share is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, until basically you have to get bought out or you have to shut the doors, okay? So having the right inventory at the right time is critical, but how do you maintain that inventory, right? What does it take to get to that inventory? How do I do my production? Do I do it make to order? Do I do it make to stock? Do I assemble it, right? There's a number of different ways in which to address the production line, but it really depends on what type of item you have and when you're going to market with it, okay? So today. Okay, so let's not talk about before, when I talk about market push or market pull, okay? Market pull, make what we can sell, okay? So basically, we're looking to the consumer, we're looking to here to the consumer and saying, hey, what is it that you want? Okay, what do you want? Do you want us to make dishwashers? Do you want us to make, fancy sneakers? Do you want us to make flying cars? What is it that you want, right? And so we're pulling from the market as far as demand signal. And then from there, we're going back and saying, look, do we have the resources? If we don't, how do we get them? Okay? And then we have the push, okay? Sell what we can make, okay? Sell what we can make. So basically, we're making things. We're telling, it's kind of like saying, you don't really know what you want, or you don't know what you want, right? Did you ever think, well, you guys are a little younger, but in my lifetime, when I was younger, we had payphones. Okay? We had phones on the wall and we had the cord attached to it. You couldn't even go so far with it, right? Okay. I never thought I'd have a cell phone. I just never dawned on me. Okay. I'm not that smart to think, oh, you know what? I like to have a phone with me all the time. I never thought about that at all, right? Till somebody said, you want a phone. I know you want a phone. You don't know it yet, but you want one. Okay. So it's not necessarily always what you want because you don't think of those things, right? Somebody else comes up with and say, look, we're gonna give this to you. Okay. You can thank me later, right? But we're giving it to you, and you're like, I never knew I needed this in my life. Okay. Most products are like that. If you think about it, all right, your phone for sure is like that. Your computer is like that. Okay. I never knew I needed this in my life. I never knew I needed the owl in my life, right? It makes things a lot easier. I never knew I needed the hoodie, all right? I didn't know those things, right? Till the manufacturer, the person that produced it says, look, you need it, and you're gonna pay me to make it for you. Okay? And we're gonna make the things we like to begin with. Okay? And after that, you can tell us what you kind of like. But for the most part, we're gonna do what we like. Right? Retail is kind of like that, right? Where people design clothes that they like, right? Not the consumer, but what the designer likes, and then they push those products. Okay, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Prada, Gucci, all those people have designers, right? And those designers come up with stuff, right? Some of the stuff, there's different tiers, right? You got your retail tier, right? When you go to the mall, and you buy Gucci or Prada or whatever, YSL or whatever brand you like, right? There's a retail level, right? There's the next level of, oh, this is a little more expensive, right? Stuff you don't necessarily see at the store. And then there's the other level, right, where it's more couture, where you only see it on like the runway, or you see like movie stars wearing some crazy stuff. You're like, where can I get that from? You can't. Okay, you can't get it. Not human, not a regular financial or economic level we're at, right? To get that, you need to be some superstar or make at least this amount of money, right? Because it's one of a kind or two of a kind, or whatever the case may be, right? But again, we're designing it and we're telling you what you want. Okay, you're not asking me, all right? Now you can, right? I can do a specific job, I can do a custom job. I can call up somebody, Dior or whoever, and say, hey, Mr. Dior, Mr. Klein, right? I need something for the Oscars, right? Anybody watch the Oscars last night or Sunday? Right? See all those crazy outfits, people just wearing all kind of stuff.
Or John Cena without any clothes.
Oh, John Cena with no clothes, right?
Sometimes not.
Sometimes you don't need an outfit, right? Sometimes you don't need an outfit, okay? But again, all those pieces, in most instances, all right, were made for that person. Because the designers want to showcase their skills, but they're not necessarily trying to market it to retail, right? It's to show their skill, to show their skill, but then for you to go and buy that other stuff, okay? Because you can't afford that, $25,000 dress that's gonna be worn for like 5 minutes. A lot of times those things are borrowed too, right? They wear them, give them right back, right? Especially jewelry. You see all the jewelry on the Oscar people or any of these, ceremonies or things like that. 9 times out of 10, the jewelry is borrowed because the people that own the jewelry, the manufacturing company, they want to showcase the jewelry, right? but they don't wanna give it away, but I don't wanna buy it either, right? But, hey, I'm gonna let you wear it for an hour, so people be like, oh my goodness, where'd you get those rubies and how much do they cost? And why, when did you buy it? Like, yeah, I didn't buy it. I bought it from, Winston and whatever, right? De Beers, okay, Swarovski, whatever, right? They look good. You have name recognition now, okay? But all those guys, when it comes down to operations, they care about that stuff because that's their product on display, right? So you gotta have, kind of, that attitude in certain areas, such as electronics. But a lot of times we get things that we don't think we need, right? And of course, there's the interfunctional view, okay? And that is a little bit harder to kind of wrap your hands around because that means that I am trying to incorporate everyone in some kind of integrated and coordinated activity, right, to get to a certain product, okay? So that means that I have an engineering piece, I have a marketing piece, I have a production piece, I have a operations piece, I have an HR piece, and they all come together as a team, and we sit down and we basically say, okay, we want, right? And what do we want the tire to look like, right? What's the function of the tire? What is the tires, what's the tire supposed to do? How much it's supposed to cost, right? So when you have an interfunctional team, things are a little hairier, right? Things are a little slower, okay? Think about when you guys do group work, right? Is it faster or slower than you doing it yourself?
Slower.
Slower, right? Why is it slower?
More steps.
More steps, okay? What else?
Ideas clash.
Ideas clash, right? You have different ways of thinking about how to do something, all right? That's first thing, right? It's slower, all right, because we don't necessarily agree with the approach per se. It's slow because we may not have enough money to necessarily do what it is we need to do, right? So when it comes to interfunctional stuff, and you have the team dynamic aspect of it, right? Just in general, you and I may not get along, right? And that may bleed into us getting to the end goal or the end state, right? Because we just can't get along. We just can't get past our differences. And so there's halting production or vacation, or I'm stalling, or I'm even sabotaging the project, right? Because I don't like you this much and I know you're in charge of the whole thing, but I don't like you, right? This is, kind of like this part in the functional view, it's kind of like a project manager's nightmare, sort of, because that's what really what PMs do, right? PM manage teams, right? And so it's like wrangling cats. You ever try to bring cats together, like try to catch them? They're like annoying, okay? It's very annoying to kind of corral cats or even chickens for that matter, all right? And so in functional view is very difficult, just because you have to get everybody in the same sheet of music, and that's not a something that the customer, what the customer wanted, right? Although it starts over here, I'm sorry here. What the customer wanted, okay? And then you have everybody else's perception of it, all right? Marketing, has a not too bad design. Product request, right? This is what was in the product request, but I don't think that's correct, right? The senior designer, this is what they gave you, okay? Manufacturing, this is what they came up with, all right? As used by the customer, right? This is how the customer could use it because you see, if it's manufactured, where's the customer gonna go? No place. So the customer had to basically cut the tree in the middle. Not really sure how this tree's still floating up here, but okay, right? And then what the customer really wanted was just a simple tire and rope, right? What is the common theme here among these 6 tiles? What's going on here? What do you think is happening? What's the problem?
I think they all have their own perspective.
Yeah, I have perspective, okay, fair enough, right, which we expect, okay? But what's really happening here?
Not matching the goals of what they've been doing.
Okay, but why? What's their lack of? There's a lack of something. No. How do you think this happened? How do you think that it went from this to that to this to this? Everybody has a different thing. What's lacking here? No? This is what the customer requests, okay? Like, oh, tire, okay, there's no conversation here. This is kind of like how over the wall works, all right? I create something and I throw it to marketing, all right? And marketing looks at it and say, okay, how can we market this product? They never step back and ask operations or ask the production or whoever's dealing with the client, is this what the client wanted? They never go back to the specs. They just deal with what's in front of them. They never question whether or not this actually fits the bill. And so the product gets moved from one place to another, to another, to another. And every time it gets to a new place, because I'm not going back to the original request or not speaking or talking or not communicating, I basically put my own spin on it because I have nothing else to go off of, all right? And so this is really a big lack of communication here, okay? And then ultimately, the customer is gonna be upset because they wanted this, and instead, they're gonna get one of these things, okay? Or whatever, one of these things, all right? And so you're gonna lose out on business, right? And cross-functional teams are very notorious for this, right? And it says like at the top, it's the lack of cooperation. That and communication, right? You have to have a coordinated effort if you have a cross-functional team. Just like when you're doing your group work, right? If you don't speak as a team, and I say, hey, you do this chapter 1, you do chapter 2, you do chapter 3, you do chapter 4, right? And I just do chapter 1 and I give it to whoever's putting everything together. I don't look at it, right? No one looks at what I put down as a professor, like what are the requirements? I just gave you chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. I put it together and I send it in. They submit it. And I look at it as I'm grading it, and it's like, chapter 1 is talking about, manufacturing. Chapter 2 is talking about cooking. Chapter 3 is talking about, how they love Amazon. Chapter 4 is telling me something about something else. And chapter 5 is just totally just, I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay? And so there's no connectivity because you guys didn't communicate. You guys didn't talk to figure out, okay, what is it, the final product that we're looking for? What is the outcome that we're really trying to get to? Right? Happens all the time, right? All right, so looking at new products, all right? Has anybody ever been in product design or product concept or anything like that?
Kinda.
Like what?
So, I mean, actually, technically, my father helped me to design something, but we were working for some like a big container bags,
Mm-hmm.
and we produce and we technically like design something specific for our customers. So you can imagine like a big container,
Mm-hmm.
and they were carrying like a soda ashes
Okay,
through ships.
okay.
And while they are carrying all this like a soda ashes on the like ocean or sea, they could be like a waves, rain, humid, like they can affect product and they can lose some amount of it. So we suggest them to like carry all this like a soda ashes inside the bag,
Mm-hmm.
inside the container.
Okay.
But it needs some specific like a design for that specific container.
Yeah.
So how they hang inside the container,
Yeah.
how can we put inside the product in that bag, carry out, blah, blah. So my father designed bag for them and I helped him to design
Okay.
all the specification and everything.
Okay, okay. All right. How long did that take?
Actually, not too long. I mean, it depends like
Yeah.
the people, but I believe couple weeks or a month.
A couple of months.
Because we already had some like a design, original design,
That's something,
but
right?
that was like so basic.
Yeah.
We just like make it special
Okay,
through customer need.
okay, okay. Good. You gonna say something?
Uh,
I know you got the brass, too.
Yeah, our customers gives us the designs
Mm,
in CAD and CAMs, in designs, particular designs.
okay.
Then we convert it into 3D, in CADs and CAMs,
Mm-hmm,
3D products. Then we start designing it,
okay.
that how much we should grow it, how much with the finishing,
Mm-hmm,
and that's the, then we get the final product.
okay. So you're more like a job shop or a
Yeah.
custom order, okay? Made to order package, right? But, you know, when it comes down to, you know, producing a new product, the companies have, you know, most companies have a process, okay? So, of course, we're gonna look at, okay, what's the market calling for, right? What's the market look like, right? What's out there? What is it that we wanna, you know, produce, okay? And then from there, we come up with a concept. Like, what is our concept? What is the premise or the foundation of our product, right? And then let's just say it's a physical, tangible object. We kind of say, all right, it's you know, we want to make a new bike or something like that, all right? And so, how do we go about making that new bike, right? What are the things that we need to have within that particular concept design that is going to be attractive to the consumer, okay? So concept development, generation and evaluation of ideas, okay? So we kind of rack and stack all the ideas, right? And say, hey, you know, we can do, you know, I know for a while they had the e-bikes, right? Those were selling pretty good and then it kind of fell off a little bit, but nonetheless still, right? You had the regular e-bikes, right? You had the e-bike, right? And then within the e-bike community, you had the foldable e-bike, all right, then you had the hybrid e-bike, all right? And the one where you could pedal, but also have an engine or a motor, whatever the case may be, all right? You had, you know, different price points, okay? So with different price points, one would have a, you know, could go 25 miles per hour, the other one go 45 miles per hour, and then the top speed was 60 miles per hour, okay? So with each one of these, now we have to kind of come up with, okay, what are the things that we need to do to make all that happen, right? The resources, right? What is it that we need at each one of these levels to make it happen, right? And is it feasible? Does it make sense? Are we going to be able to sell these things? Okay. So think about a company. Everybody familiar with Peloton, right? Peloton. Everybody know Peloton? The exercise bikes, you see the commercials sometime, they're on there, you know, and then you can do all kind of crazy stuff on, you can be in a class, you can, you know, do the Alps, you can do the Tour de France, all that kind of nonsense, but it's all on the screen, it's all, whatever Zoom or simulate, whatever the case may be, right? So Peloton, right, during COVID, Peloton was doing extremely well, right? Because of course, no one could go anywhere, right? And so Peloton was like, oh no, we're just gonna stay home and just, you know, sell our stuff because everybody's buying them like hotcakes, okay? We're going to produce plenty of them, right? So what they started doing was they started having different variations on the bike, right? Because at first it was just a regular Peloton, had a screen, and you could, you know, you had a couple modules you could pick from, and it wasn't nothing too fancy. Then it's like, okay, well, since people are gonna be, you know, home and we want to give them some variety, right? How about we make it like live, right? Like when you play PlayStation or Xbox and that thing, you can live play a gameplay. I don't play that, but I know you can log on and be in a live environment with other players. Okay, so that's what Peloton decided to do, where you could link in, classes scheduled, you could come into the class and be actively involved with real people, right? And not just be in the class by yourself, right? It's not a Zoom session, but really a session, sort of, right? The instructor would pick whatever, you know, road or whatever workout they were gonna do and then kind of go from there, okay? And so that, you know, really helped Peloton because that increased their sales because now they gave people more variety, more options, okay? And it also gave them a way to delineate the different levels of bikes, okay? So they could say, you know what, for the base bike, it's $1,000. If you want the special doodads and all the software package, it's gonna cost you 15. If you want the top bike, right, with the 2, 3 screens and, you know, access to personal training and all this stuff is gonna cost you $2,500, okay? That all happened in product design, right? And trying to figure out how do we innovate on already established product, right? But come up with new ways in which to present it to the consumer, right? So that all happens in companies where they kind of kick ideas around, like, that's great, but you know what? I really don't like it. You know, it's a little clunky or a little cumbersome. You know, we got to think about other things, right? You just can't think about just the design of the product. You got to think about how is it going to affect other areas, right? Or what are the resources that a person who's using this particular product or service, what are they gonna need, right? Well, if I order Peloton at the highest level, right, the best one, I'm gonna make sure my internet is stable. I'm gonna need space, right? I don't wanna buy a Peloton if I live in a one-bedroom apartment. Where am I gonna put it? Okay, I probably need a big house or a garage or some space in where I have workout equipment and all this stuff, right? How are we going to deliver it, right? How are we going to transport this particular thing, right? Assembly, is it difficult to put together? Maintenance, which is probably one of the more important things, right? Is it maintainable by the average consumer, right? If something goes down, what's the customer support requirement that we're gonna have, right? And so all those things kind of go into the concept development, right? Then you look at the product design, right? The actual physical product and the production process, right? We look at it and say, okay, wheels, right? Gears, we need, technology associated with it, right? Seat needs to be comfortable, all that kind of stuff, right? We look at all that. And then decide, okay, as a product itself, what material do we need to use to make it light, right? Or to make it heavy, or to make it whatever it is we want it to be, right? And what do we need as far as production infrastructure to make it happen, right? Do we have the necessary equipment? And more importantly, do we have the people that can do it at that level, right? I need welders. I need fabricators, right? It's kind of like, your brass business, right? Sure, you have welders, fabricators. I don't know what else goes into that. Finishers, people that are expert, right? It's killing me, man. How you doing that? It has a mind of its own. Okay, so either way, right? Pedal falls off, chain falls off, the seat's uncomfortable, just all kind of stuff, right? This is where we find out all the kinks and make sure that, we get rid of all those kinks when we fix everything, right? But prototyping and pilot testing is expensive, okay? Because you just can't test one, right? It's not that it doesn't work that way. You have 10 to 15%, that you want to test randomly, you want to test them, right? To see, okay, if I just pick one out the bunch, because that's what's gonna happen when it goes to market. People just gonna randomly pick a box up and like, all right, I'm taking my Peloton, or I guess delivered to the house, right? I don't have a special Peloton that I know, oh, this one's perfect, this one's crappy, so I'm gonna sell you this one and you get this one, okay? It doesn't work that way, so random selection. And so when they are, trying to, pilot test, they randomly select one of the products and then we put it through the test, right? You guys see it all the time, the cars, right? The crash test dummies, right? Those are all pilot tests, okay? And they go through, I would say 60 to 100 cars, right? Just one, like that particular brand, like a Toyota Corolla will get crashed 50 to 60 times. They'll test one, boom, test another one, boom, test another, and keep testing it, right? They're testing for different things, but each test is the same Corolla, same 100 cars or whatever, and you're looking at the different dynamics, the different aspects and perspectives that, things that could possibly happen, all right? Is the suspension good? Do the brakes work? How's the transmission? Are the rear view mirrors in the right place? Okay, what about the tires? The rims, right? The wheels, okay? The oil pan, just the design in general, okay? Is the gas tank in the appropriate place, right? It may sound like a stupid thing to think of, but back in the 70s and the 80s, I should say, late 70s, early 80s, we had the Pinto. Am I familiar with the Pinto?
Flat,
Huh?
flat Punto, no,
The car.
Ford.
Ford Pinto, yeah. Ford Pinto, no? All right, well, yeah, you might see one once in a while. It's a super old car. Very small, compact, came to market because Ford was trying to compete with Japan and all the Asian vehicles and and the European vehicles, right? Because the United States usually had big cars and that's what Cadillac and GM and that's what we were known for, right? The Asian market came, smaller compact cars, less gas, right? Because we were going through a fuel crisis at that point, such and such, right? And so Pinto or Ford decided that they were going to design this Pinto to be an economy saver. Well, when they designed it, they put the gas tank in the back, like kind of where the trunk is, sort of. That's where the gas tank was. Okay, so you can imagine what happened. All right, people start getting to accidents. When they got to accident, guess what? The car blew up. Okay, happened a few times. Now, instead of just recalling the cars and fixing them, what Pinto did, they did a cost analysis. To fix it. What the part cost? Right? Let's take a wild guess. Take a wild guess.
15,000.
$15? 15,000? Anybody else? Now we're talking about late 70s, early 80s, so cars aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay,
$2,000.
2,000,
500, 600.
600, 19 cents.
Okay.
The part cost 19 cents.
What,
To fix
what
it.
part we are talking about, like a gas tank?
It was something to move or extend the gas tank so they could push.
Oh, okay.
Over.
Some,
Yeah.
I think just gas tank, we were talking.
No,
about.
not just the gas tank. Yeah, it was a piece that they could install to extend the gas tank so they could move it over from out of the back, move it to the side where the gas tanks are now. Gas tanks are on the side of your car, right? They're not directly in the back.
Actually, not on the side, it's still, under the rear seat.
And yeah, under the rear
It's
seat, yeah.
still
It's still-
behind,
yeah.
but not in the trunk.
Right, not in the trunk, yeah, not in the trunk, yeah. So they had something they could do where that all came from after that. They put that requirement in, but 19 cents. I don't think it was that much, right? But in totality, it was gonna be super expensive to recall all $1 billion nowadays, right? So it was expensive for them, right? It's gonna be pricey. And so they decided to just go ahead and roll with the punches and see what happened. Well, it didn't turn out too good, okay? The car started exploding more and more on simple impact, and then they had one particular accident where there was three teenage girls. They got hit from behind, and the car exploded, and the girls died. And after that, they got sued, and they thought that, okay, so for those of you that don't know, how much does an arm cost? Okay, so there's a book. Okay, military has one too, right? That's like they come up with these fancy figures sometimes, right? An eye's worth $30,000 or something like that, right? It's more than that. I'm just coming making up numbers, but it exists, right? A leg is worth $100,000, right? I don't know, your brain, of course, that's priceless, right? You can't put any amount of money on that. This is why court cases and lawsuits have a hard time coming up with a number. That's why sometimes you hear, wrongful death, $83 million. Like Jesus, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but the person lost their life. All right, as compared to, oh, they lost a leg. Okay, 10 million, 15 million. All right, it's gonna affect their quality of life. Nonetheless, Ford decided to go with that, and they got hit really hard. Right. So what happened is they end up paying this huge settlement, right, with this particular family, and all the other families. And then the government came in and told them, you need to fix this, or we're going to sue you, and you're gonna have to recall your vehicles anyway. So no matter which way you want to do it, you're gonna do it. All right. So it would have been cheaper for them to go ahead and just fix the problem initially instead of go through what they went through. All right. All because within the product design, right, and the product testing production, they ignored everything, right? During the production and testing, it blew up, and they knew that. They knew that. It's internal memos. There's not emails, but there's letters and correspondence that shows that the leadership knew that there's a probability that the cars would blow up upon impact because of where the tank was placed. But they decided, we don't want to go back to the drawing board because that put them behind, okay? Because then, guess what? They start losing market share to the Toyotas, right? To the Hondas. They didn't want that, right? They were kind of behind.
Probably they calculated the risk and they see that like, just like a couple, like let's say 2-3%, and probably they already think that like, okay, if we go this like a low seat way,
Yeah.
cost us probably like they knew it already before everything happened, as you said.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, honestly, if I were in this position, I would
Probably
I
the
would
same thing,
think
right?
the same way.
Yeah.
Because like in that moment, like as you said, like losing market, it costs them like more than like money wise, like the prices like a body of farm. Because if you lose the market, it is super hard to get back in.
Mhm.
So, but still, while you are in the market, you can fix some things maybe.
Right. And that's what they should have done. They should have, they should have recalled like they do now, right? So now we have a recall. You don't, you don't have to take the whole vehicle back, but you need to fix it, right? And you fix it a little bit at a time. You send letters out and say, everybody, hey, come in, we got a part to fix. It's gonna take you 30 minutes to take an hour, however long it takes, but we'll fix it. And you do a little bit at a time, right? I'm thinking back then, they probably thought, oh, we're gonna have to bring everything in, get it done, that kind of thing, and it's super expensive. Either way, they failed in the production testing and the pilot testing, okay? In recognizing like, hey, this is not going to be, a product that initially, if there's no accident, you're great, right? But if there's an accident, you're taking a chance, okay? And they could have fixed it in the production and the testing, but they didn't, okay? Nowadays, it's a lot easier to do, testing and all that stuff, right? Because we got 3D printing. Oh, no. Is that a monitor song? I swear. Okay. I don't know what it is. Okay. All right. we have 3D printing or additive manufacturing, okay? So now, anybody ever seen a 3D printer?
Yeah, I have done.
Yeah, you work with?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay, okay. So you use
So
them
I've done my
before?
bachelor's in mechanical engineering.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, so.
I saw one, but like it was more private use.
Okay, yeah, okay. So the 3D printer is an amazing, piece of machinery.
Yeah.
Um,
Done layer by layer.
Yeah, layer by layer, and it helps you, really in testing, because you can build a product very inexpensively, right?
You can make a prototype.
Yeah, made a prototype, boom, test it, it doesn't work, okay, boom, make another one, pretty cheaply, right? If, as a company, it's a decent investment if you want a good one, but for the most part, you get one, it's pretty useful in helping you test the product, right? Making sure it's durable, whatever the case may be, right? And they also can do, human cells, right? We can 3D print human tissue to a small degree, okay? And there's a company out here in San Diego, Organavo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Organavo. Organavo is a San Diego-based company, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to build organs or 3D print organs. Okay, so they've been able to do it at the smaller scale, right? They can't make it at a human scale. They've been able to make it for mice, rats, lab animals, that kind of thing, but they can't scale it for humans just yet. Okay, but it's there. Okay, and so what that does, it gives you an ability to really test out new drugs, right? New ways of doing surgery. If I have a piece of tissue that I know is very similar or exactly the same as human tissue, I can do different things, right? And it helps other industries when it comes to them innovating and their research and development aspect, right? And so it's critical that we have, these kind of things because it cuts the cost and it cuts the fear out also for companies that are fearful or scared of losing market share, right? Or come get behind everyone else in the sense that, oh, we have to do all this prototyping and all this testing and all this other stuff, right? Nowadays, testing, prototyping, making sure the product is safe. And it does what it's supposed to do is even more. Point. What is going on with this? Hey, my goodness. Ah, okay. So important piece of information or thing that really is really helpful. Today it's not Zoom's day, huh? Where do we go? Ah, hold on. Come on, come on. I'm looking for the Zoom to make sure that. Okay. Ah, So, all right, so we got that. All right, so, within the product design, right, we have different approaches, right? Now I'm talking about sequential concurrent approach, right? The sequential approach is what is traditionally done, right? So we have different departments, so different sections, and then we create the product, the concept, we design it, and then operation gives it to marketing. Marketing has it, gives it to IT. Then they give it to, the controller, whoever, the finance guys, whatever the case may be, okay? So it moves in an order in which my work is dependent upon you completing your work, okay? We're not working on it together, right? The longer you take, the longer it takes to get to me, right? And so until you're done with your part, I can't get done with mine, so I mean, the product is gonna basically be, behind, right? Think of like when you're building a house or building a building, right? There's certain things that have to happen first before they start building, right? You gotta lay the foundation. You gotta make sure all the wiring is ready to go, right? You gotta make sure that you know what kind of material you're gonna be using. You gotta make sure that the ground itself is suitable for, building, right? You gotta make sure that you coordinate with the city officials and the local community to let them know, hey, we're gonna be building a building here, right? It's gonna take about 2 years. And so during that time, there's gonna be some dust, gonna be some noise, right? It's gonna be a lot of things, gonna be traffic disruptions, right? And so all those things go into play. So all these things need to happen before you can actually start making the building, right? And before you put the windows in, I need to have a building, right? Before I put the appliances in, right? The building needs to be complete, all right, and ready to go, right? And so work is just kind of moving in a very methodical and, organized way, right? But one piece of work can't get done to the next piece of work or prior to it is complete, right? It's different with concurrent. When you work concurrently, everybody has a piece of the project and we're all working on our particular pieces together, right? And we're all talking and saying, hey, look, you know what? I got this part, all right? We know, everyone knows what the goal is, okay? What's the mission? What is that we're trying to aim for? We're trying to get to a bicycle, right? And the bicycle is gonna look like this, right? You got the tires, you got the gears, you got the display, you got the handlebars, you got the seat, all right? And we all talking to each other, right? All the while, everything is getting done at the same time, right? We're all working on some component of the bike, right? We're not waiting for a finished product. For it to move on to the next, working on it concurrently, right? To get it done. And then we as a team come up with the product, we all look at it at the same time, we all break it down at the same time, we all say, okay, I'll take this, this, and this, and boom. And then once that's done and we all agree like, okay, this is the final prototype, we tested it, it's good to go, then it goes to production. And when it gets to production, then it might be different, right? Where it's assembled differently, right? Or it might not even be assembled there, it might be assembled elsewhere, right? All right, so just a graphical depiction of each approach, right? Sequential, right? Boom, time, everybody's on the same kind of time, right? Okay, effort's the same sort of, right? Very flat, uniform, okay? Because again, I can't move on till marketing gives it to me. Operations can't move on to engineering gives it up, okay? And so in each place, the longer it takes, the longer it's gonna be for me to get to the end product, right? But when you do concurrent, you see how everybody is kind of working at the same time, but very few places do all three intersect, right? You have an intersection here, intersection here, intersection here, but at the same time, everybody's working on it at the same time, okay? Everybody's participating, and we are all gonna get to the end basically the same, right? We started the same, we're gonna get to the same, but we have different kind of lulls in what we're doing, all right? Marketing, it's its peak up here and it kind of dies off, right? Engineering is pretty subtle, it's pretty, uniform, and so questions. You gotta figure out, okay, what is it that the consumer wants, right? And if that's what you want, what price point are you willing to pay for it? Okay? Because depending on how much you pay for it, or you're willing to pay for it, will determine which materials I source, right? Which suppliers I use. If you want to, you guys ever watch the cooking channels and watch those fancy cake shows? Okay, and you see those guys or gals, they're producing these crazy cakes that look like, I don't know, Mickey Mouse and all that other stuff, right? How much do you think one of those cakes cost? Anybody? Anybody know what I'm talking about? The little cooking shows where they have the cakes, they make, crazy looking desserts or cake that look like things.
Yeah, they make the houses.
Yeah, or they make a cake that looks like a chair with the cake and cut into it and freaking, sneakers, that's, all kind of stuff, right? So those cakes typically, depending on who you get it from, 4 or 5 grand a cake, right? Some you probably get them for 2, depending on the size, right? Now, if I have a client that comes in and says, hey, I got a $300 budget, but I want this special cake. You as the baker, right? What is your thought? What are you thinking? You know how much it costs to make the cake, right? If you use just the ingredients you use, right? But the customer comes in, they say they have a $300 budget, but they want this cake, right? What is your thought as to how to approach that?
I just, low the quality.
Lower quality, right? Or you ask the customer like, hey, is that the most you're willing to go? Okay? Because sometimes the customer may want a particular thing and they have a particular price point, but you as the producer of that particular product know that it has to have a minimum cutoff, right? Like, yeah, you only have a $300 budget, but at minimum, you need to have at least $1,000 budget because the materials I need, the cheapest materials I can get, they're gonna cost $1,000. Okay? And so you have to ask the customer the right question as far as to, okay, what is your the top of your budget? Right? I know the bottom is free, right? What's the top? And then once I figure out the top is, then I can kind of start working with you, right? But at the same time, these cakes, they take certain resources, they take certain skill sets, right? But you have to ask the customer, like, okay, do you really want this cake in the way that you want it, right? Or is there a way to make the cake smaller, right? Do you need that size? Because for $300, I can make it, but it'll just be smaller. It won't, instead of serving 40 people, it'll serve 20 people. Are you okay with that? Or do you think you could just go to the store, get some cake mix, make a cake? It's not gonna make you mouse, not anything fancy, but it's a cake, right? Depending on your audience, depending what it's for, right? You make a cake and, 5-year-olds are happy with just cake. They don't care, right? Older people, not so much, all right? You get older and specifically you're trying to do a 50th anniversary or some kind of special 21st birthday or whatever. You wanna have a certain type of cake, you want to pay for it, it's okay, right? All right? Allow the sentence to share knowledge, okay? So, what we mean by that is that We want to make it conducive to where we are talking to the consumer, right? And the consumer is talking to us, but we have to set things up to where we incentivize them to talk. Okay? If you tell me what you're thinking, I can work better, right? If you tell me what it is that you're not holding out on what it is that you want, right? Just tell me. If you had a limited amount of money, how would you want it to look? Right? Tell me, okay? And that way you get a real fix on, okay, what is it the customer is looking for and what is it you can realistically do for them. Create collaborative technology platform, right? So in this, because technology really is taking over in many instances in different areas, right? Now, when we're talking about like specific, especially artistic and creative skills, not everybody can make or do those particular things, right? And there is some technology that can help you do that, but I can't draw. There's really nothing that's gonna help me become a better artist, right, per se, right? But there are things out there as far as AI and stuff that I know how to use, that I can create all kind of stuff, right? And then use the consumer. There are things out there that are very easy to use there's Dolly. Anybody use Dolly before? Like Salvador Dali, anybody, right? DALLE. It's an AI platform, and basically you just tell it what I want the picture to have an angel, the sky, the sun, the moon, and a car. And then AI will come up with something. And then boom, it creates this crazy picture for you. All right. And you can print it out and you can, frame it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? There's some other issues with it as far as like copyright and is that considered original work, that kind of thing, right? But nonetheless, it is what it is, right? But it's a piece of technology that's very helpful in helping people come up with ideas that you don't necessarily think about yourself, right? If I'm making a cake and I tell the technology like, hey, I know I want this type of cake, but I really don't know what it's supposed to look like. Like I can't envision it. And I put in these certain parameters or criteria, and then the AI platform will just come up with this thing like, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Then you take that to the designer and say, look, I want the cake to look like this. Okay. And like, okay, I can make that, right? But it's gonna cost you this much money or whatever the case may be, right? And then include advisors on to design team. This happens sometimes, but normally not, right? You don't want too much customer interaction on the design team because customers, like anybody else, once someone feels like they're gonna pay you for something, they always feel like they have the right to tell you exactly how to do it, when to do it. They don't like certain things, right? Which is fine, right? But you'll be here all day, right? If you keep letting the customer interact with you, right? Yes, you want to solicit their ideas, but you do it in a specific way, right? I know what you want, and give me a model week. Let me put something together. And then you give it to them, like, hey, this is what I got. What do you want to add, take away? How do you want to modify it? I like to do this, this, and this. Okay, cool. Give me another week. I'm gonna add these modifications in. Give it up, boom. If you have the person in every meeting that you have at production meetings, this customer is gonna get annoying very quickly. Okay? Because they're gonna start thinking about things that they want that they're not necessarily correlating to the design process or the manufacturing process, right? That like, okay, I know you want that, but first, you can't afford that. Secondly, we can't do that here, right? Or we can do it, but it's gonna extend the timeline, right? There's a lot of things they don't think about that you think about as the producer or the product manager or the operations manager. I don't think about it. So having them as advisors is cool, but you have to pick your spots and where you include them in the process. Okay. All right. Now you have your relationship with suppliers, right? And so the suppliers are great because guess what? They're the subject matter experts. They're the ones that know everything about their particular material, right? And they can give you advice about, hey, I'm doing a project here. What kind of material should I use? Right? What's the best material you got? And also work on pricing, right? I'm gonna buy 100,000 units. Is there a way for me to, lower the cost based on volume? Okay, so that's always a good thing, right? Capabilities, cost, time, quality, targets, right? capacity availability, right? There's a reason why most companies have more than one supplier. Because one supplier cannot always provide with all the material that you need. Sometimes you have to have multiple suppliers, right? And you also want to build redundancy, right? If that supplier goes down, just like we talked about last week with the microchip in Taiwan, right? Companies need to have other outlets or other suppliers that they can go to and say, look, I can't get it from Taiwan because of the tsunami, whatever the case may be.
Mm.
You know, we need to have other suppliers on hand because you're not always gonna have a rosy relationship with all your suppliers. Sometimes you're gonna get into some debates, some disputes, right? Price, payment, that kind of thing, right? And delivery, quality, right? That's the biggest thing really with suppliers, the quality of the product, right? Making sure that the quality fits what it is you're trying to produce, okay? I don't want you to go get the cheapest material if you're building a house. Okay, that's not what I want, right? Granted, it happens, but it's still commercial grade, but it's still the cheapest thing, okay? Instead of getting, wood floors, I got laminate, right? This is where laminate comes in and some of these other alternative options. It looks like wood, doesn't feel like wood, but it looks like wood, right? And most times people just going for the aesthetics. If it looks like it, if it holds up as far as durability, it lasts a long time, then most folks are okay with that. Usually, or sometimes people want the real deal. They want real wood, right? Or they want marble, or they want a real diamond, right? They don't want cubic zirconia, or they don't want, something that's manufactured by a person, right? Kind of the same thing, sort of, at the end of the day, right? Because you're paying for what you get, okay? But people, have very specific requirements sometimes. And it's not always easy to source the material at the price point that you want, that you can sell it at, right? And that at the end of the day, that is always the question. Can I sell this particular product, good or service, at this price point based on how I'm building it, or based on how I'm manufacturing it, right? If something costs $100 to produce, how much do you think they should sell it for? Hmm? How much do you think you sell it for?
800.
800? Depends. Depends, right? Depends on the market.
Depends on the competition.
Depends on the competition, depends on the market, depends on what happens. But you know for sure, it should sell more for than what you paid to make it, right? At the very least, it's gonna be $101. Okay? If it cost me $100 to make, at the very least, the bottom, the floor is 101, right? It could even be $100 because I just want to break even. I'm gonna sell it at cost. I have to be able to sell the product, right, at a certain price point based on how I manufacture it. This is why when you look at car manufacturers, they have different levels of cars, right? If you look at a Mercedes, okay? Now, any Mercedes, even the base Mercedes, right, is about 30-something thousand dollars with nothing in it, right? But when you look inside the car, what do you see inside a base Mercedes? Everybody, a base luxury car, let's just say that, right? Does it look any different than maybe a Kia or Toyota? Okay, yes, in what way?
I still feel like I see something more quality as a design wise.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah, okay, yeah,
a product, but
maybe
Yeah,
not
it's
necessarily
like-
material, but
yeah,
design.
that- they use like a, leathers,
Mhm.
both cars,
Yeah.
Kia or let's say
Yeah.
Mercedes, feel the difference.
Right, okay, so the bottom line Mercedes probably, it's the same cost as kind of the mid-grade Kia, right? Or high-end Kia, sort of, right? For the most part, sometimes, it depends, right? But sometimes they're about the same, right? But when you look at the $30,000, $35,000 Kia and the $35,000 Mercedes, you'll notice that the Kia, if it's kind of the top line one or one of the top ones, it'll have more,
Feature.
features, right? It'll have more things than the bottom line Mercedes, right? The bottom line Mercedes will have these big component parts, these modular parts, right? It won't have unique components. It'll just have things that you can take out and drop in, right? Plug and play. The whole dashboard is just pushed in, right? The radio is all pushed in. There's nothing special, nothing unique about it. It's just one big thing that's mass produced and kind of just stuck in there, right? But if you look at a Bentley or Rolls Royce, right? Even the bottom line one, okay? Everything's hand stitched, right? The clock is handmade or hand, designed, right? Everything is unique and very much custom and tailored, right? Because those cars cost a lot of money, okay? But when you talk about Mercedes and having different levels, right? They want everybody to enjoy Mercedes, right? Because if you're in a Mercedes or you're in a Bentley, right? I don't know what's going on inside the car, really. I just know you have a Mercedes, right? I just know you have a Bentley.
Technically, people are paying just because of that start, that.
That's it. That's it.
Brand image.
Exactly. That's the whole point, right? You just want the brand. You just want them to say, oh, he got a Mercedes, she has a Mercedes. Oh, really? Okay. They don't know it's 1965 Mercedes with, although those are pretty nice, but still, yeah, they're really nice, but still, right? They don't know that. They just like, it's a Mercedes, right? Oh, you got a Rolls Royce, right? It's a 1982 Rolls Royce, right? Or whatever the car is, Ferrari, whatever the case may be, right? And understanding that they do that so that they can tap into the market, right? At different levels, because they all know that we all like nice stuff, right? And we like the perception of nice stuff, okay? Like you said, I'm just buying it for the brand, okay?
Actually, I like one funny story. So when I was in Turkey, my best friend like about Nissan GTR.
Uh-huh,
I
yeah,
don't know
that's
if you guys
a
know
nice
that
car,
car.
yeah.
It's like a
That's a nice,
sport, like a
yeah,
super sport car.
yeah.
So we were at the gas station and two girls came to us, like approached us and they said, "Oh, this car looks amazing. Can we take a picture? What is this car? We never saw that." My friend like really proud of it and she said, "Oh, thank you. It's GTR." And they asked like, "What's the brand?" And he says like a Nissan. And they said, "What Nissan? Oh, we don't want to take
Right.
pictures anymore."
Right.
And they left. So the people are just like thinking mostly just what's
Yeah,
the brand.
brand, right,
They don't
yeah.
care like
If it
What
said
the-
Mercedes instead of Nissan, they'd be like, oh my goodness, a Mercedes, not knowing the GTR is,
yeah, when
like
they
that.
heard like a Nissan, they just like
Yeah.
surprised. So.
that's because you have to understand
Yeah.
Nissan and the car industry
Yeah.
and understand that the GTR is the top of the line car, regardless of the point, no matter what brand,
Yeah.
right? It's a top of the line car, very hard to get. Skyline, I don't know if you guys know the Skyline, that kind of thing. It's a GTR, but that's what they call it in Japan, Skyline.
Actually, R32 is Skyline. So after that, R34 they changed the
Okay,
name.
okay.
Even in Japan they
Even
call
Japan?
it GTR. Yeah.
Oh, they did, okay.
Yeah. So Skyline is ended after R32.
Okay, all right. See, can't keep up with all this stuff, all right? But at the end of the day, right, the companies want to cater to all different types of social status, right? Economic standpoints, right? But again, I have to go back and look at the suppliers and say, okay, what can I get, right? As far as supplies to build the car at this price point, because I'm gonna sell it here. All right, and so you're not gonna find a bunch of fancy material, you're not gonna find a lot of custom stuff, right? Because the more custom it is, the more expensive it's gonna be, right? Just because somebody is doing it, somebody's taking their time, it's not a machine per se, right? Like I used to work for Toyota. And so I go to the manufacturing plant once in a while, right, and see how it looks, right? And it's literally, it's on a, kind of a assembly line kind of thing. And it just kind of goes, there's couple big robot arms. And it basically the robot arm goes into the car, the chassis, and it picks it up and it spins it around and puts stuff on there and it brings it back down and somebody throws something else in there, right? But Lexus also, Toyota also owns Lexus, right? I went to that manufacturing plant. Totally different. Okay, totally different, especially the higher end Lexus, right? There's actually people in there stitching the seats. Anybody familiar with the LFA?
Yeah.
Right? They stitch the seats, right? The console is different pieces because the front where the driver's at is something different than the middle console. That's the passenger seat, the clock. Everything is very hand kind of made or hand custom or job shop, right? And that, but the car costs, $250,000 also. And it's like, maybe I've seen one on the road. The only one I've seen is when I work for Lexus. Oh, there's one in Escondido. You guys go to the Lexus dealership in Escondido, you'll see when they have one in the showroom. You can't drive it, you can't do anything, you just look at it, all right? But they have one, okay? And I think the owner of that dealership, he or she can take it around because they own it, okay? So, look at that capacity, look at, capabilities, and then, when it's talking about low risk, we're really referring to the ability of the supplier to always be consistent with providing supplies, okay? So we need to be able to rely on them and to know that, hey, when I need supplies from you, I can get it, right? That the supply chain will be broken, such in the cases, when it came to Taiwan, that supply chain was broken, right? Once Taiwan was out of the picture, it basically became, go to Apple, you go to Qualcomm if you want, if you're lucky enough to get to them, but it's gonna be expensive, it's gonna be pricey, right? And so I wanna keep a low risk, I wanna make sure my relationship with the supplier is really good and that I have access even when others may not have access, right? And I have access to different types of materials, not just, the high-end stuff. Because the supplier, they wanna sell the most expensive stuff to you, right? But again, because they don't care what you do with it, they just know like, hey, you're gonna buy supplies from us or material from us, and whatever you do with it, we don't care, not to a certain degree. Because sometimes you get supplies from a supplier and there are other waste and kind of, other environmental issues that they kind of have to deal with. Like you got batteries, right? What happens to the batteries after, they're old, or you have to get it from the manufacturer or wherever the case may be, or supplier, right? There's certain things that the government mandates that they do with the waste, right? And so they have to think about those things, but I'm really looking at, having a supplier that is well versed in whatever they do, right? Is offering me all the options, okay? Can work with me on pricing based on volume, okay? Which is in any business, right? If I'm coming in and I'm buying 1,000,000 units, you need to lower the price, okay? There's no if and buts about it, right? If not, I'll find another supplier, okay? Now, when it comes down to supply, you also have to make sure that you do your homework, right? And make sure that they are meeting your quality standards, right? This is when a lot of people go to China or they work with China. Anybody here get supply from China or material from China? No? Everything's home? Okay. Either way, when you get stuff from China or you work with China, the first time you start working with them, you need to go inspect their supplies. You need to inspect the manufacturing or the production line, right? Because China is notorious for using very cheap product, cheap material. Okay, they would try and this is the manufacturing world in general, right? The only reason I take China because China is the biggest manufacturer in the world. Okay, so there's no getting around China, right? But China very much is catering to, hey, how much money do you have? And whatever money you have, right? If you want to pay for certain things, we're going to give you the high quality. But if you don't want to pay for it and you want the cheapest thing, we will find you the cheapest thing. We will give it to you. Okay? No problem. So you need to go and inspect your material and how the production is going to make sure that they're using the materials that you want at the level you want. Because what ends up happening is probably like 5, 6 years ago, maybe a little longer than this, there was a manufacturer here that made toys. Right? You guys may remember this, right? And the toys were being manufactured in China, right? The paint they were using was the cheapest possible paint they could find, right? And so they made the toy, they painted, I think it was a fire truck or something, painted it, they shipped it to US sold it in retail stores, right? Within, I think, a month, the paint starts chipping off the toy, right? It shouldn't do that, right? Guess what? Toys for a kid, a child. So guess what children do, right? Oh, this is paint. up and eat it, right? Because that's what kids do, right? They just eat anything, right? And that's what was happening. The kids were, the chip paint was falling off the truck and they were eating it. And it was such bad material, cheap material off this truck, okay? So they went back to China and said, look, you cannot use this material, right? The other thing is that there are different standards and legal ramifications to suppliers and what you, in the material, right? In China, that was totally legal, right? Using that material was totally legal. In the United States, it wasn't, right? And so it was if it was manufactured in the US, they would never use that paint because they know that the government's like, no, that material is too cheap, it chips, and we're not going to let you use it because we already know that the kids are gonna, they're gonna do crazy stuff to it, okay? No knock against China, it's just that China's very much, got the manufacturing and production thing down, okay? They're the masters, they know what they're doing, right? But they're only gonna do as much as you pay them for, okay? But you have to go and inspect your stuff, right? If you're looking for a certain standard, right, certain quality, making sure that it passed the test here, not only in China, but it passed the production, right, the testing, right, the guidelines that are here in the United States. You'll find that a lot of times things are produced in other countries that come to the United States and they won't make the customs check, right? They won't pass inspection because their quality or whatever material they use is not up to code, United States wise, okay? It's fine in China, it's fine in Malaysia, it's fine in India, it's fine in Taiwan, it's fine in Turkey, all right? But it's not good here, okay? It's not good here, it has to be a certain material. All right, let's take a quick 10-minute break. We'll come back and then we'll keep going, okay? You guys can leave the classroom if you want for the break. You guys are gonna sit here, I'll keep going. Not forcing anybody out, I'm just saying. One-
Yeah, this is more. We have
Oh, okay.
manufactured with,
Ah,
we have them.
oh, wow. So it's commercial and
Yeah.
residential, so.
This type of, we have manufacturing of,
Interesting.
this all are made of
What are
brass.
these things for?
This is not brass earthing and forging parts
Okay,
used in the electrical earthing.
okay. Oh, yeah, the whole, yeah.
The sanitary parts. The oil coke and this all.
Oh, wow. You guys are with a lot of different companies, huh?
Yeah. These all are producing in-house.
Yeah. So you're more of a supplier
Yeah.
to, you don't
Hi, Patrick.
Mohammed, we're done. The
Yes, Patrick, but the complete session was on mute. I was just trying to let you know that, to unmute
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, it wasn't your fault. It's the Zoom went down and I couldn't
Mhm.
reconnect.
Okay. So I
So
was
I
supposed
don't
to
know
there
what it
in the class today, because,
was that.
Ramazan started. So today was the first day of our fasting.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Okay,
Yeah. So I'll
I
go
got
through
you.
the deck, the one which you have already shared.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
all right. Okay.